Hello and welcome to Cupcake Addiction's Mario Mushroom Cupcake tutorial, where I'll be showing you how to make these gorgeous and super easy Super Mario Mushroom Cupcakes. Tools and equipment that we will be using today. I've got my little cupcake wrapper printable. I will leave a link for that in the description box below, and I have made that for you guys to make these just a little bit better than they would otherwise be. I've got a little bit of wax paper. Now I've lined my cupcake wrapper with a little bit of wax paper. I just cut around both together and then I've sticky taped the wax paper on both ends. The reason that I've done this is because we want our frosting to come right down to the edges of that cupcake wrapper, and frosting has got oils and butters in it, and that will actually start seeping into your cupcake wrapper and it'll mess things up. So by lining that with wax paper, it's just going to mean we keep a nice, really neat finish to the bottom of our Mario mushroom. I've got my cupcake here to ice. I've got a little bit of our perfectly pipeable buttercream frosting. Now these guys are usually red and green. I've got a couple of red ones there, so I thought I'd do green for this tutorial. And I'll leave a recipe link to that frosting in the description box below if you're looking for a great frosting recipe. A little bit of sticky tape. I've got 4 white candy melts or white chocolate melts and just a knife. I will also mention today that I'm displaying these in a little ice cream cone. Now, if you're in the US, I know that Ralph's actually sells coloured ice cream cones, so you can get pre-coloured green ones. We used to have them here in Australia, but I couldn't find them for this tutorial. So I've actually taken just regular ice cream cones and I've dipped them in green candy melts to give them that lovely green effect. With these ones, if you're going to use them to display your little Mario mushrooms, they do look fantastic, but they'll be quite top heavy. So I've filled mine up with just some candy, some M&Ms or something like that, just to give that base a little bit more weight so that when you do put your cupcake on top, the whole thing doesn't topple over because it's a bit top heavy. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to wrap our cupcake wrapper. So these are a bit of a one-size-fits-all job, and you'll notice the smaller your cupcake, you'll have a little bit more overhang. The larger your cupcake, you'll have a little bit less overhang. So I like to bring that cupcake wrapper right up to the top of the cupcake. So the cupcake's sitting nice and flush with the top there, and I'm pretty happy with that positioning. Pop the cupcake out, get the 2 pieces roughly where you've positioned them on the cupcake, and a little bit of sticky tape around, simply tape the 2 together. If you love this tutorial, make sure that you head on over to our channel, My Cupcake Addiction. We've got lots of great tutorials, and we will shortly also be uploading this really cool little Goomba Mario cupcake. So if you want to catch him, make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss him. Now, you've got your little cupcake wrapper there ready to go. Just give it a check. Make sure that you're happy with that fit. Looks good to me. And we want to take the back of our knife. So I'm just going to use this straight back edge, not the rounded front edge. And I'm going to just scoop on some of that green frosting. Now for these mushrooms, you do want a fair bit of frosting, especially on the initial scoop. You'll scrape a little bit of this off, but you want to make that mushroomy top quite pronounced and quite nice and high and round. So you'll see there I'm scraping in a downwards motion, trying not to get too much of that around the edges of the cupcake wrapper. It doesn't really matter because we're going to be putting this nice decorative wrapper on anyway, but just getting into the habit of not making too much of a mess out of the outside of your wrappers is always good. Now I'm just using my knife, I'm going back and forward, so I've got a nice even distribution. Lovely. And wiping that knife off, I'm going to go around the sides of the cupcake, and this is just smoothing. So you could do this in a fondant finish, but I want these to be really easy for everyone at home, and I think that they're really effective without too many fancy tools or equipment or utensils or anything like that, and not too expensive. All right, so you can see there I've smoothed that off nicely, and then you want to drop it into your patty pan or into your cupcake wrapper. So I just literally drop it. Now, if it drops in a little bit unevenly, just use your fingers underneath there and you can just reposition it. Now I'm looking at that, and it's actually gone a little bit too far into that patty pan. So the cupcake wrapper there, it's a tiny bit big. I'm going to use my fingers underneath. I'm going to pop that out, and I'm just going to make that cupcake wrapper a little bit smaller. This is something to consider. You really don't want it being inside the cupcake wrapper. You want it to be flush with the top of the cupcake wrapper. So I'm just going to peel open that sticky tape, make it a little smaller, be 1/2 centimetre or so. A little bit of new sticky tape. Disasters while filming. Re-sticky tape that together, and we'll drop that in again. Perfect. So you can see the difference there when you look at it. You're actually right flush up against the sides of your cupcake wrapper. So the mushroom head is poking out. So now take your candy melts and you want the round side to be facing into the frosting and the flat side facing out. And I just popped 4 around the outsides of those cupcakes, the outsides of that frosting. Nice and even. Push them in so that they're nice and even and flush against that frosting so they're not sticking out or anything. And there you've got your completed little Mario mushroom cupcake. You can take, if you've got one, your little coloured ice cream cone. You can stick that all together and you end up with this really great little Mario scene. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial as much as I've enjoyed making it for you. Do make sure that you check out those Goomba cupcakes, the perfect accompaniment to these Mario mushrooms. And as always, thanks very much for watching.